Hey, good afternoon. Police Chief Chris Womack coming to you today, and I'm pleased to announce I've got 3 of our local heroes. As you know, as everybody's familiar, we just went through a weather event like nobody in our lifetime has ever seen. I think we've got reports as high as 24 inches of rain that fell here in the county. Unfortunately, we did have several fatalities attached with it as well. We're still recovering. 3 weeks later, we're still dealing with the aftermath of that situation. And with us today, like I said, I've got 3 of our local heroes that were involved in that event, that were actually performing water rescues that night as the event was going on. And first, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Officer Billy Wallace and let him give his recount of that event and what they faced that night out in the road.
We had several calls, and they all started around midnight, and we didn't really know how serious things had gotten, and it just kept raining and didn't stop. And before long, we were stretched thin, us and the fire department, and everybody was out on calls. And within 2 or 3 hours, we started getting reports of people being entrapped in their vehicles all over the county area and as well as the city. And we were all dispatched to them, and some of us were, not just us, but just about every officer out there that night, along with several firemen, were walking out in water and getting people from vehicles. And it was a helpless feeling because the calls just kept coming in, and some of them we couldn't get to right away. Some of the, as you know, the roads were blocked, and we couldn't get to a lot of people in a reasonable amount of time. We had to find different routes, and it continued through the night and was kind of frustrating. But this particular incident, and I guess the reason why we're here today, was on Anawakey Road, and the water had washed a vehicle into a group of trees, and it was occupied with a 1-year-old, I believe a 19-year-old male and a female, and they were washing to a tree, and water was coming through their vehicle, and they were able to get into in a tree to get out of the water. And Sergeant Brett Dever was the first officer on the scene with our department, and as well as the firemen were there, and they decided to try to do a rescue at that time, and the water was up. I believe it was probably 7 or 8 feet deep across the road, and they were able to get a Department of Natural Resources boat, and 2 of the DNR guys and a fireman got into the boat, and while they were attempting to rescue these people, the boat capsized. So then we had, I believe, 6 people in the tree to rescue, and at that time, Sergeant called myself and Officer Yunt to that area, and when we arrived, he pretty much told us we were going to have to get in the water and try to. Our first operation was trying to get life jackets to everyone, and we tied ropes to each other and tried to wade out in the water a couple of times and went as far as we could and got within 20 yards of the people in the tree. And I guess that was the most frustrating part. We were so close to them, and the water was just flowing too fast for us to get any closer. And we tried that 3 or 4 times, and then we had another boat arrive on the scene, and were able to stretch a cable across the water. And finally, we were able to get out using the rope to keep ourselves upright and able to drift life jackets to all the people in the tree. And then several hours later, the waters receded enough for us to walk out there and get everybody out. And it was a blessing to see everybody get out okay and nobody get hurt. And this went on for 7 or 8 hours, I believe, that these people were stuck in a tree. And that's about it for me.
Very quickly, just the things I wanted recognized when I brought this to Chief Womack's attention was the actions of Officer Wallace and the actions of Officer Yunt that night. As police officers, they're often called in to do things that aren't pleasant and a lot of people don't like to deal with. This was something where they not necessarily could have chose simply not to get involved. They could have simply watched and directed traffic and waited on the fire department resources to become available, which at the time were currently in the water capsized, and the fire department was out of resources. And the thing that struck me the most was, without hesitation, these officers immediately started shucking their gun belts and the gear that would weight them down in the water, and they basically started taking action to try and remedy the situation and make it better for these people, because we went from having 3 victims in the water to 6 victims, 3 of them being rescuers. And we had very limited resources based on the situation that night with the activity for the fire department all over the county. And the problem also being that other counties were inundated with calls for service, so there was no other jurisdictions to pull resources from. So I wanted these officers to be recognized for their actions, because not only are they out there working on the find unit, working on the interstate, doing drug interdiction and getting criminals off the street, but this just shows that they actually do care about this community, because that night they chose to get involved, and they chose to do things that were above and beyond what their job description called for. And they took action, and luckily no more lives were lost on that scene.
I don't think it's just actions that myself and Officer Wallace and Sergeant Dever did. It's the actions that all law enforcement officers had that night. We all took the chances. We all stayed over and worked lots and lots of overtime. And it's just, if we all wouldn't have pulled together and worked as a team, then none of this would have been as successful as it was during the flood that night. I just want to recognize all the other officers and deputies and command staff for coming out and working so hard that night and the next few days, and still working hard and still keeping this community safe.
Well, on behalf of Chief Womack, I would like to present these 3 men with a token that we have here at the City of Douglasville Police Department, a challenge coin. For your dedication to service to this community. Sergeant Devers mentioned the fine unit, and this is an effort by the Douglasville Police Department and the Sheriff Department working together to help keep our community safe, and all first responders on this incident. We wish we had all of them here, that we can give them all challenge coins. But these 3 men right here, I would like to, on behalf of the chief, present you each with a challenge coin to Officer Yunt, Sergeant Dever, and Officer Wallace.
And guys, I just want to say I couldn't be more proud to work with you, and it's an honor to have folks like you out here working for us and serving our community. And I'm just so proud of you, thankful that you're safe, and I appreciate the hard work y'all are out there doing every day. This is Chief Womack signing off from the Douglasville Police Department. God bless and stay safe.